Hello, I'm Theresa, and this is just a conversation.
Thank you. That's the intro. Okay, you
Okay,
ready? We're starting now.
okay,
All right. Question one. What is
okay.
the proper spelling of Teresa, with or without an H?
With an H.
You know that's the less common way, right?
It's I've heard it's a more Catholic way,
Okay.
but who knows?
What's your deal with asking with naming people the less common way? Why do I have the less common name?
Um, I like the name Caleb, and I just didn't like it with the C spelling. I thought K was a stronger name.
I like to say it's spelled the way it sounds.
Yeah,
You don't say C-Lub, it's Caleb.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. How would you describe who Teresa is?
Oh, um, am I? Um, I'm I can answer that two ways. I can just tell you about myself, but that's not really who I am. It's maybe what I do, what I've
You can
done.
take it whichever way you want to.
So I'm just going to, I am a person who continually wants to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I want to keep learning. I am a teacher because I feel like I've been called to be a teacher. It is a calling, it's not just a job. I truly love doing what I do. Um, I, of course, am a mom to two wonderful boys who I just love dearly. Um, and they're my heart and they're my life. Um, and I love getting to know them and I love learning about them and continuing learning about them and seeing their personalities develop is such a joy. And I've fallen in love with them at each level of their life. And that is the beauty of parenting.
Transition. You always were big on education and being more as educated as you possibly can be. Why do you think being educated is so important?
Well, one, I think couple reasons. Um, it's generational. Like our generation, that was huge. That's how you know, got out of poverty. That's how you bettered yourself. That was ingrained in me. Like that's the only way to get a good job, um, is to get a higher education.
What
So,
about the lifelong learner stuff? Like you didn't just stop once you got a good job. Like why continually becoming more educated? What is that?
well, there's a difference between, acquiring knowledge and wanting to learn about things and then being like formal education.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've done both. And you know, in my later years now, as I'm getting older, I'm gearing more towards just like gaining knowledge, as in like it doesn't have to be through a degree or anything or through a college or university. Um, because of, technology, there's so many ways that we can read books. Number one way, keep reading books. Podcast, I'm addicted to podcast, and I can't get enough of them. But I still read as well. And talking to people, learning about people, asking people questions, gaining knowledge from their experiences in life. So that's what I've pivoted towards in my older years now.
What do you like more, learning or educating someone else? What's more satisfying?
Um, Probably learning for me. Yeah.
You like being a student rather than teacher?
Um, that is a good question. Um, Sometimes they're equal, but I would have to say a little more being a student. Yes.
What
Yes.
teacher made you realize that you like teaching?
Um, I don't know if I have a specific one. I think it's the whole education experience. I started playing school as a little girl. When I was about 7, I had a big blackboard for some reason. I don't even know why. My parents, grandma and grandpa, got me a big chalkboard, which is so like not a present that they would get because, um, but got me a big blackboard, put it up in my room,
Yeah,
and I would play school and I would line chairs up and put my stuffed animals and I would play teacher. Yeah,
that's funny.
I know. And I always, um, I went into education. I kind of wanted to be a teacher, but I also wanted to be a psychologist. Um, so yeah, but it eventually just kind of winded me into the special ed teacher role.
Hmm. How would you describe what your job is to people who don't know?
Um, well, I'm a special education teacher, but for the past 18 years, I've been teaching in early on, which is a birth to 3, which I go into the home. So that's very different. Um, so I go into the homes and I educate and support families whose child has an identified area of need of development, like communication, cognitive, social emotional, things like that. So I go in and I help them. I'm their cheerleader. I help them problem solve, you know, uh, different concerns that they have, and then give them strategies.
What'd you want to be when you were younger? What job? You have any crazy ones like astronaut?
Other than trying to think, not really. Mine were pretty stereotypical
Like what?
of the time. Like a teacher, psychologist.
From the jump?
Yeah, early on. Yeah.
Okay. Who was a better high school athlete, you or Derek Jeter?
Go, yeah, right. There's
Who
no comparison. That's not even like
who was
there's
better?
no question. Obviously, I was. I mean, no, of course. I mean, he made it to like, professional.
Okay. Why'd you like running so much?
I think one, I was good at it.
Were you
Um,
always good at it? Like in elementary, like in gym class, were you smoking kids?
I was fairly always decent. And it started to come easy to me. So
Okay.
then I just wanted more of it. Um, and then in junior high, running track and getting that experience. And I love the whole experience of it. And I didn't realize at the time, but it really helped me. Um, I think with so many skills, with discipline, with self-regulation skills, probably helped anxiety. I mean, it was so beneficial on so many levels. Being part of a team, um, experience experiencing success. Um, it taught me so much. I am such an advocate for sports you know, if it feels good to the person.
What was your favorite running memory? Not just high school, but lifelong. Like what was the most like fun that you had while running?
Oh, I don't necessarily have just one memory, but
List them
in
then.
high school, just being on a team with other runners, laughing, telling jokes, being silly. Um, I think like being so nervous before a race, having some goals and having people believe in you and wanting you to do good, and then but being so nervous, and then after the race, that like feeling you have with experiencing that with other teammates, kind of just that bonding, that team bonding that happens is just awesome.
What about the marathon? Is that the biggest running accomplishment you think you ever did?
Um,
Or do you think four-time state runner was more?
both in their own way. Like
Oh,
ex-
come on. Give me one way or the other.
no, like
Ah.
it's not that. So I worked hard. Like running was, you know, a large part of my life in high school. I loved it. I was very competitive. yeah, but you know, I don't know if I was all 100% there, mentally there. Like, I I like to compete. And then when I trained for the marathon, I was, well, I think in my 40s, first one I ever did. I honestly really did not, I don't really enjoy running long distances like that. The main is just like a 5K. Like I love the 5K. Um, so it was hard. But again, what got me through it was bonding with the team I was training with and very low key. I mean, it was like a run walk running system.
What was the name of your
So
group?
we were the shufflers, and it's a whole program. It's
Okay.
a whole program um, based on the Galloway method. Um, but I loved getting to know my teammates, sharing stories, laughing, telling jokes, sharing running tidbits and advice and techniques and style and just kind of nerding out that way. But it was tough. Um, and I didn't really enjoy. I did it mainly because it was just I wanted to at least run a marathon in my life. And it did help me kind of like there was some healing component of it and closure because grandpa had died and he had ran a marathon. Um, but he actually did not finish. He got
Ever?
hurt. Yeah, he started the marathon, but then
Okay.
uh a vehicle had to pick him up because he could not finish.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like me finishing it, and having closure, so that was nice. And doing it with my friend Carrie was nice too. So yeah, I think I was, you know, it was more meaningful. The marathon was more meaningful. Yes.
Okay. So you don't really, do you like running or do you like competing?
Now it's running. I like running. Um, I don't enjoy competing anymore. I don't care how we do. And I'm slow now, so that, probably has something to do with it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I like getting to know people. Like I love hearing people's story about like how they got started running.
So you like connecting with people about running more than running?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're pivoting to my mom questions.
Oh boy. Okay.
What is the nicest thing I've ever done for you?
Aw. Um, couple things. One, I remember, I don't know if you were in like sixth grade, but around there, we were driving back and I remember we got off the exit. Um, and you said something like we were talking about when people make mistakes or something like that. And you're like, Mom, you said something along the lines of, I don't know if you've ever made mistakes. You're like the perfect mom, or something like that. And it just made me feel so good. But, obviously I made mistakes. And I can't remember the context either. Like, were you just kind of like buttering me up because you wanted a new toy or something? I don't know. But it really did make me feel good. Yes. And I think you continue to have conversations with me. You continue to want a relationship with me, um, and want to get to know me. And that's pretty awesome because that doesn't always exist with, parents and their children. I think just honestly, the nicest thing is you continue to make time for me. And that's pretty awesome. Because as adult children grow up, that's harder to do. And it's harder to stay connected because everyone is busy. And the fact that you take time every day is just awesome. It's just such a gift. And I see the gift. I'm thankful for the gift and I don't take it for granted.
Well, you still buy me gifts, so I gotta keep buttering you up.
Nah, yes, yes.
What was the first thing you thought when you found out you were gonna be a mom?
I think just like a little vulnerable. Like, am I up for this? Can I do this? Am I good enough? Um, and then as it sunk in and I accepted and went through all the processes, I just wanted to love you. Like, I just wanted to love you so much, and that kind of took over, along with always some doubt and like, oh, can I do this? Do I know this? Yeah. And always wanting to do a good job.
What's easier, parenting me as a child or an adult?
Ooh, that is a great question.
And don't say different. I want you to pick. Who's easier?
I think if you're going to make me choose, I think
Okay.
parenting you as a child was easier.
Is that a compliment to me as a child or an indictment as me as an adult?
Because here's the thing, and I with my young like coworkers that have children, I often think, um, because when they're little, when kids are little, you have more control. Like, I can make it better for you. If you're crying, I can wipe your tears away, make your owie feel better, um, cuddle with you, get you what you want and need.
Hmm.
I have more control over that. When adult children, the parent has less control, and we're not parenting so much as consulting and kind of just being there to listen and letting you make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. And we kind of have to step away from having hands on so much. And that's hard. That's hard to watch you go through things that bring you suffering and pain. Um, but also, it's rewarding too to watch you work through all that and come out like successful and everything, which is really awesome too. And learn from your mistakes. Yeah.
What did you learn from your parents to do or not do as a parent yourself? Like, did you have any moments of like your parents did something and you're like, I'm for sure gonna do that for my kids, or I'm never gonna do that to my kids? You have any of those?
Yes, both. So what I liked about my parents is, well, one with grandpa is he really liked nature, and spent a lot of time, you know, and encouraged that. Um, so I enjoy that part. Like, I tried to spend a lot of time outside with you and going for walks. Um, and just, you know, trying to encourage you to play outside. And I think to some degree, um, with grandma, like, she was very loving and affectionate, you know. Um, so I think that came natural to me to want to hug you a lot and cuddle with you. Um, and I think my parents were really good at meeting like just the basic needs, like food and shelter, clothing, vacation sometimes, just those kind of, and that's their generational. Um, but they were not big on emotional talks, talking about things that happen in the family. Um, it was, we couldn't talk about that. Um, we couldn't discuss hard topics at all. So I wanted to try to do that, you know, to talk about those things more and have an open conversation, and tried to want you to know that you can tell me anything. I'll be here for you. Let's talk about it. Let's work this out. Um, and I think I've succeeded a little bit, but I think through our talks, I've learned you've even needed more of that. So I probably fell back to those unconscious ways I was raised, not knowing it.
What have you learned from me?
Well, and I'm going to frame it like this, like, I am so proud of you, like, that you are a lifelong learner. Like, you want to get to the root of things. Like, why am I feeling this way? Why do I act like this? Why am I afraid of this? Why do I really like this kind of stuff? And so you ask yourself those questions all the time and like do things in your life to help you get at the root causes or answers to those questions. So you ask a lot of great questions and you're curious. And because of that, I feel like you have continually evolved and you're always trying to be the healthiest version of yourself that you can. So that's what I've learned from you is how strong you are and to continually be the healthiest version of yourself that you can.
This is my favorite question that I have.
Okay.
What's an interest that I had as a kid or even now that you fingers crossed behind your back hope that I moved on really fast from?
I remember you got into like gambling a little bit. You really like, because you like math, you love math, you're good at it. You're good with numbers. You have a great memory. So like I think you started an online gambling account before you really could. I don't want to know the all the details, but like you like card gambling and I was like, "Oh my gosh." I just worried about that. Like, okay, this isn't that good.
I didn't think that's where that I didn't think about that's funny. I thought you were gonna say like when I was younger and like didn't like to wear pants.
Oh yeah, that I mean there's that too, but I knew that was just short term. I'm thinking more of your teenage years. Yeah. Because you went through a little gambling phase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a
Oh,
winner.
uh-huh. Okay. Saving up your money, getting like this theory of how to win at the casino, and you would research it and like, I know
Uh-huh.
I can beat the system. I know if I do this, I can beat the system.
Eh.
And
You know what
then
it really was?
what?
It's the I didn't know why I was wrong.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it really I was like you told me I'm gonna be wrong and I'm going to lose. And I was like probably, but I don't know why. I don't know
Okay.
what it is that's gonna make me lose. So I had to go and lose money to find out, oh, that's why this doesn't work.
Yes. So you're the type of child that I knew this from the like pretty early on is you have to learn the hard way. And there's no way around that sometimes. I could say, hey, that's probably not going to be a safe choice for you to do this, or just here's some things to watch out for. You might want to like dial it back a bit. When you get something in your head, you're very driven, a little stubborn, and you have to learn the hard way. And to some degree, I like that because you do learn from your failures.
Mm-hmm.
You do learn. And some of the best learning takes place from failing.
Was there any part of you where you told me something over and over and over, and I was like, listen, you're wrong. And a little part of you was like, I hope he fails so he really learns this one.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, it was like, you're when you had that casino thing going on.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes like you would put, and I think this still is a theme in your life. Like you put all your eggs in one basket, kind of thing, where
Best return.
yes. And so sometimes like you think this is it. This is, what I'm gonna do. And it's gonna, work out perfectly. And I'm putting all my energy into this one thing that I want to do.
Uh-huh.
And yes.
Where do you think I
So
learned that from, or I was born with it?
I don't know, probably a little both. Probably it's caught up in your temperament, you're driven and even when you were a little boy, it kind of had to be your idea. You have that kind of a personality where so I had to give you kind of a long kind of leash or a long like I had to give you a lot of room for you to do things and experiment because that's how you learn. If
Mm-hmm.
I said don't do something, you would do it just because I said don't do it. So I had to
Yeah.
phrase it in a I mean, sometimes just as your parent, obviously I had to put the limits down. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? I had to, absolutely not. That's not a choice. No. But in some things, like when you want to experiment with, I don't know, whatever sport or activity you wanted to try, I had to like let you do it and experiment with it.
What was easier, the parent, first child or second child?
You and Isaiah have two totally different temperaments and kind of personalities. You, like I said, you were more of the strong-willed child. Um, I gave you a lot of leeway because one, you just because you had that temperament, you were more of a leader. Like I didn't honestly worry about you because I knew you had it, or I felt like you had it. Um, because you always took charge. And I mean, you were always like, you knew what homework you had to do, you did it, you were so responsible. Like your teachers would tell me at conferences, oh, yeah, Caleb keeps me on track. He definitely lets me know what's coming up next for the schedule and reminds me. I mean,
Hmm.
you were kind of, because of that, I often missed when you did need help and your
Sure.
calls for help. I misread those cues. And I don't think I was there enough emotionally for you as I should have been because I kind of just thought you had it. And I now, because you brought it to my attention, I see that growing up, I miss those cues. And I'm really sorry. And like as a mom, I think, oh, I should have been more there for you emotionally. But I think your personality type, it was harder for you to ask for help sometimes. But as a mom, I should have read those cues better.
What's the hardest part about being a mom? And has
Uh,
the answer evolved over time?
yes, of course, parenting you when you were little. And I spoke to earlier about now it's being able to watch you fail and make mistakes as an adult, you know, um, and moving obviously towards more of a hands-off approach. And I'm just like your consult now, like um it's not my job anymore to tell you what to do or how to do it, really. Um it's just to be there for support for you, and just as a if you let me and if you want my advice, then I'll give it, but be more of a hopefully a guide for you.
Working with children as a teacher all day, do you think that made you a better parent? Or do you think it made you a better teacher being a parent?
Both. Um, and it also had some probably negative effects. Like I think sometimes maybe my energy and patience and all that got used up teaching kids, and then I didn't have as much coming home, you know, and vice versa. If I use my energy, if what if you guys were sick or something and I stayed up with you, then I was tired going into the workday. But it also gave me a level of understanding. I could use some of my own life experience when I worked with the families, and then I also learned different perspectives from the families I worked with to take home to you too. Yeah.
How eye-opening was your trip to Africa?
It was very eye-opening. Um, I think everyone, if they can, should go abroad. Um, and not just like abroad as in like I'm going on a vacation, but really like live in a different culture or community. It's good for perspective taking. It made me realize how many resources, America has and what we take for granted. But it also made me realize that America doesn't have all the answers and that we do things um sometimes that aren't in the best way, like we can learn from other countries too and how they see things. practices that they do, um, which is really cool. And you're never going to realize that until you go abroad and live and immerse yourself with another culture.
I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned from you growing up was the privilege of education and where we are and just how many people don't have access to the opportunities that I can just be born with.
Yes.
And there was just like a level of like gratitude while going through school to be like, oh, I'm lucky to be here and not something like I have to do or something I should do.
Good. I'm glad that I instilled that. Yes. Yes, because people and students like in South Africa, sometimes, public transportation to school does not exist there. And I worked in a school for children with special needs, and just, you know, they had outdated wheelchairs, outdated communication devices, all of the things that help our students here, they did not have. The teachers only could make so many copies, like within a given time, just making copies for students and resources did not exist. There were so many lessons, to learn. Um,
Who was your biggest supporter or helper when you first became a mom?
I think just my friend.
Who'd you ask the most questions to about how to do something?
I think like it was a combination, like Jenny, at the time, and Carrie, and then my coworkers at the time, my older coworkers, um, who had like older kids. I really believe in mentoring, and I think to some degree I um naturally was drawn to my older, like say friends or coworkers. Um, I think one, they were represented like a mothering figure for me, but I knew that they had experience, and I like to put myself in like that learner. Like I had what is a teachable spirit. Um, and so I would ask them a lot of advice. And I think that's something, I don't know if I see that nowadays. I think the art of mentoring someone is being lost, and I don't know if the younger generation puts themselves or pairs themselves up with a older mentor, and we don't value people that we view as old, you know um I don't, and maybe I'm just more sensitive because I turned 50 and I'm getting older, and I see and I recognize more ageism, like, oh, you don't even understand, you don't even get it, you don't even know. And it's like, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have lived what you're going through right now. So I've always had like different mentors in my life, older mentors, and just recognizing wisdom. So I hope that you continually to seek out like older mentors in your life, and you can, I don't know if it's being humble enough or whatever, but put yourself in a position to learn from them and know that they have wisdom and knowledge. And one, to recognize good mentors. That's another skill. Just because someone is younger doesn't mean they can't be a mentor. And just because someone, you can't assume because someone is older, they can be a mentor. Recognizing a mentor spirit and aligning yourself with that person.
I think it can be a little less personal today with the internet and the access to people without in your generation. I don't have to know the person and I can
Yeah,
still get so much knowledge on them and just about them and their perspective and how they talk and what they've learned. And I don't even have to know this person. So I think
yeah,
it's a little level of like I don't have to know this person personally for them to be a mentor, and I can still get the knowledge that I need from them.
yes. And I would agree only to a certain degree with that, because I think there is something lost with first, and this is, yes, I know it's your old mom speaking. I get that. but with personal connection, with having face-to-face interactions and getting to know them and um reading all their cues, and having just sitting with them in person over coffee, over a meal, in their living room. There is something sacred in those interactions. Seriously, sacred as in the universe is sending you this person and you're connecting at such a deeper level than connecting over, I think, social media. I don't know, but that's just where I'm at with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's all my questions. All right, lady, thanks for doing this.
Okay. Love you, honey. See you soon.
Love you. Bye. And now time for the ad reads. I am not good enough at memorizing my lines or winging it, so I have today's ad read written out. Today's episode is in partnership with Daily Jam, this show's first partner. Daily Jam is my personal music playlist project. Currently, we are on year 6 of doing this, Daily Jam 6. The way it works is I add one new song every single day, 365 days a year, 366 on leap years, with no repeats. The standard for the songs is in the name. Every song, I believe, is good enough to be played on repeat all day long. My personal daily jam. Humbly and respectfully, I have incredible music taste. So check the link in the description or go to my Spotify profile, Caleb Wolfgang, to listen to any Daily Jam playlist. I guarantee that you will find songs that you love and gems you've never heard before. Thank you to Daily Jam for being a partner with Just a Conversation.